What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Welcome back. Another episode of HKB Podcast. We're wrapping up the Young Gun series a week late. Last week, I had to call an audible and postpone the episode just moments before packing up the van and getting things ready to go to a tournament. I was sitting in the garage and I could see underneath the trailer, and I could see a bunch of grease all over the tire rims. I was like, that doesn't look right. I'm no mechanic. Asked Justin Staley. I made multiple calls to him, but I could tell it didn't look right. And so, I had to replace both hubs really quick, and it was not really quick. So that started at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I think I got done at 10 o'clock. My wife was out there helping me. It was crazy. But anyway, we got it done. And we're here this week, and we're finishing up this Young Gun series. And I got a couple, these are pups. These are some young guns, like just got their driver's license young guns, but great anglers. And, we've been doing kind of one at a time. I wanted to bring both of these guys on here for this episode because I want to see early in their careers who's influencing them. I want to see how they compare and contrast. I know a little bit about their fishing styles, a little bit more about Brennan's than I do Jack's. So, but I want to see how they're developing and how they've become the anglers that they are so far. It's going to be a good episode. I'm excited about it. And I think no matter where you are in the fishing game, whether you're just getting started or you've been doing this a long time, I think we can learn something from these young guys as well. Both great dudes, and I'm excited to have them on tonight. Guys, do me a favor. You know how this works. Please, please, please let us know where you're watching from. Share this with your friends. Share it in the groups. Do all those things for us. Help me get the word out about this sport and these anglers and the awesome community we have here in the state of Indiana. As we do every week, let's quickly talk about what happened last week. Let's look at what's going on this week, and then we'll talk briefly about what's happening here in the near future. So what's going on, Justin? Thanks for dropping in the comments, guys. Say hi, say what's up. Start a conversation, ask questions in the comments. That's awesome. We appreciate it. The old man, Mr. Bluegrass himself, Matt Kiefer in the house. What's going on, buddy? Appreciate you being on here tonight. Hopefully you can learn something from these young guns. I know you're old and stubborn, but you might learn something other than how to throw a 6 cents square bill. All right, so listen up. All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's talk about what happened last week. Stay safe down there in Evansville. I know I saw the radar. I was watching. Let me share my screen with you. That's important. You guys want to see something other than my ugly mug. So let me do that. Share screen. Share the right screen. All right, here we go, guys. So we're going to start at Raccoon Lake last week. Man, this was – I was at this event. I've been wanting to get to this lake, haven't fished it since I was in, high school. It was weird. These huge shad spawn going on, massive shad spawn. And I've never seen such a good shad spawn and not had the bass just killing it, It was really, really weird. I fished the shad spawn almost all day. A good part of the day and just never really got anything going from that. I caught probably 20 shad on anything with an open hook I was catching shad on. But the bass weren't biting very good. Part of that is because they're starting to spawn. But anyway, I didn't get to listen to Grubby Talk this week and hear how the winner won this event. I should have listened to that. But I'll have to go back and watch that. Maybe if you can put it in the comments. But there was 20 anglers signed up for this one, and to no one's surprise, Brian Moore took the W here with 74.5 inches. Pretty good limit for Raccoon based off of, previous tournaments. Definitely not on the higher end, but a pretty good limit out there for Monroe, and definitely good this year. The McCollums, I might have butchered that, and I apologize if I did, took second and third, Mitchell in second, and Mason in third, 69 and 67. I took fourth. I only had 3 fish. I lost fish 4 and 5. Fish 4 was like a 15-incher, and fish 5 was Dandy. I caught her off a bed. She ran to the back of a pocket. Ran out of real estate, so she started coming right at the kayak, jumped. I got to see her beautiful, huge fish. Like, I'm talking like 6 to 8 pound class fish, one of the biggest fish I've hooked up on all year, and she came off. And then after that, I just had a bunch of followers, and they were nipping at it. It was really, really weird. I'm looking forward to going back. Ryan Reedy stays consistent in the top 5 with 41 inches. Mr. Chip with 34.25. Jordan with 34. Tyler with 33. Cole, 22.75. He had a tough day as well. We talked on the water a little bit. And Debbie, Miss Bailey, with 13.25, rounding out top 10. Tough tournament. They're coming back. We'll be talking about raccoon in just a minute. All right. West Boggs. This one was pretty awesome to watch. The scoreboard on Thursday. Several fish being caught. In fact, I think Strunk and Glenn, and let's look. Yeah, Strunk, Glenn, and Ryan. I believe they all had their limit before 9 a.m. And Glenn maybe before 8 a.m. I know at 9:30 I looked and they had all limited. If you're watching and you know the answer to how quickly that happened, please let me know. But impressive performance from Glenn Landstrom. He just caught him all day long. 86 inches, going on to win that event. Again, that's a no surprise turnout there. He is a hammer on that lake. Ryan Reedy, we're hearing that name once again. 82.5 in second place. He was on fire last week with top finishes. Merlin Hammer with a third place finish, 82, another very consistent angler. Papa Strunk, 75.25 in fourth place. Kent Gross with 75 in fifth. Sixth place, we had Wyatt Guard, name I'm seeing a lot as well, 74.25. Chris Hillebrand was 74. Jason was 70. Joe Robbins, 43.75. Jeremiah Thompson with 28.25, trying the largemouth game, man. He struggles with that, though, a little bit. He's about the smallmouth. But that was your top 10 there. Only 12 anglers signed up for that event. Small turnout. All right. Then we go to Bluegrass. Take a look here. We had 16 anglers signed up for this one. And Mr. Bluegrass himself, Matt Kiefer, with 94 inches, just blew it out of the water, and he did it quick. He fished on Monday, and I think he was off the water by 11:30, and he had a limit very, very quick. A good one, too. Let's look at that real quick. Big bass of the week, 21.5 inches. That's going to be a post-spawn fish there. Telltale sign, you see the crease right there in the belly. She had just dropped those eggs, and we got some blood on the tail right there. So that's a post-spawn, but, I mean, like within a few hours of dropping those eggs probably. You can tell, again, got the crease in the stomach there. Hasn't gone out and fed up. The mouth's all tore up there. So, yeah, there you go. 21.5 incher. Big bass of the week had a 19.25, an 18.50, 17.50, and a 17.25. Matt Johnson, once again, up in the top there was 74.75. Nate Goodwin was 73.75. Larry Padgett was 64.25. Rounding out the top 5 was Chris Hildebrand with 63.25. Jim Bailey, 62.25. Josh Hoover with 50.5. Adam Cartwright, tough season for him out there. Just really struggled this year, but he landed, oh goodness, I'm messing this all up here. Let's find him. Where'd he go? He landed 2 fish And this one, 9-incher. I had to check to see. Gosh, Matt, you're watching. I thought it was Adam. Who landed the spotted? It was a spotted bass in this one. If you're watching, Matt, still, you know the answer to that off your top of your head. You may not. But I was looking through some of the pictures, and I thought it was Adam, but I guess I'm wrong. Landed a pretty decent little spotted bass, which is kind of rare, I thought, out there. Anyway, moving on. IK and Summit both paired up on Summit, or IK and SIAC both paired up on Summit Lake this week. Little double header going on, and this event was pretty close, tight race at the top. It was kind of fun to watch. I wish I could have been there. Fortunately, I couldn't with the moving it to Sunday. Don't get me started on that. Not happy with the state or Summit Lake about that. But anyway, Cole with 82.25, sneaking out the win over Nick Matthews, having a really good season with 81 inches. Joshua Robbins with 80.25. That's kind of like a home lake for him. I know he was a hopeful to get the W there. Justin was 78. Mike was 78 as well. We had Mark Howe with 76.25. Blake with 75.5. Always someone in these IK events to watch out for, Blake there. Personally, don't know a whole lot about Blake, but I always see his name in the mix at these IK events. Jim Orr was 75.25. Brian Duncan was 74. And Nolan Lee was 73.25, rounding out top 10 there. Moving over to SIAC, also with an event on Summit Lake this past Sunday. And Joshua Robbins gets the W with 80.25. Though both tournaments were held on this lake, we didn't have everyone sign up for both events. And Josh Robbins was able to get the W in this one with 80.25. Justin was 78. Mark Howe was 76.25. Aiden Darlington was 73.25. Ryan Becker with 59.75. Rick Gibbons with 57. Merlin with 56. Anthony with 47. And it really starts to fall off. Steve Martin, 33. And Clint with 32. Now, this is something interesting. Let's talk about this real quick. Aiden Darlington was 73.25, fourth place at SIAC. Where did he finish at IKA? 11th, 72.25. So there's a difference there of an inch. Let's see. What is the difference? I'm learning this for the first time. 2, 3, 4, all 14s and a 16. 13.75. Interesting. I don't know if that was just a difference in the judging or he submitted the fish differently, because that cost him an IKA 72.25, 73.25. Yeah, he would have been in 10th. So that finish right there is going to be one Aiden is going to have to knock off the scorecard if he's going to want to claim an AOI this year. Nick Matthews looking really good. I haven't seen the AOI standings after this event for IKA, but as you guys know, Aiden has wrapped that series up for years now, and it's going to be interesting to see if someone can knock him off this season. So there you have it, guys. That was our week. Last week, top performers once again. Congratulations to these guys. Cole with 82.75 at Summit. Josh Robbins at Summit with 80.25. Brian Moore at Raccoon with 74.5. Glenn Landstrom gets another W with 86 inches. Matt Kiefer with another W this year as well, 94 inches. Big bag of the week, and as we saw earlier, big bass of the week with 21.5 inches. Congratulations to all these guys, and we look forward to seeing who can get on top this week. 3 events from Grubby. We got one at Brookville, started today. Austin Killian leading with 82 inches of Brookville bass. Let's see, are these smallmouth or largemouth? Largy. That looked like a post spawner, didn't it? Largy. Well, I think it's going to all be large. Oh, there we go. A little smallmouth action. She's either been feeding up or is, yeah, probably post spawn feeder. Those smallmouth usually spawn earlier. Let's see what we got here. And a largie. So one smallmouth in the mix there. Austin, another very consistent angler this year. He's yet to get a W. He's fighting hard to get one. He's got a lot of second places and top fives. We're going to have Austin on in our next episode. I want to talk to Austin. Everyone, we always hear from the winners, and we should. But sometimes the most consistent anglers and the anglers that you can learn a lot from is two smallmouth. Austin said, I missed one. Was the first one a smallmouth? I don't know. Anyway, sometimes you can learn a lot from the guys who are consistently in the top 5, top 10 in larger events. And Austin is definitely somebody that's been in top 3, top 5s a lot this season. So we're going to talk to him next week. I'm looking forward to that, and hearing how he is staying so consistent with his season. At White River, we had 50 anglers sign up for this event, 10 of which were fishing today. This is definitely the largest series for Grubby. Great turnouts for this. I mean, it's hanging out there with the IKA this year. 50 plus anglers signing up for these events. Really awesome to see that. And no surprise, there's a great fishery there on the White River. But Tyler Atwell, 81.25 today. That is awesome. Great numbers from Eric and Jim and Nick as well. We'll see how this holds up. There's 7 tomorrow fishing, bunch fishing on Saturday and Sunday and Monday. So this is going to be a great event. A lot of great anglers yet to fish in this one. And then also this week we have Niona, which we have some anglers fishing today as well. 78.25 leads that. And I think there was 22 anglers signed up for this event. I'll be there tomorrow. Might head that way after this podcast. Might head that way in the morning. I'm not sure. That's what's going on this week. And then next week we have, let's see. I think we've got only Grubby events again. Yeah, Brush Creek, Raccoon. And then if you want to head out of the state, you can go to Lake St. Clair. And there's a Grubby event there. And the closest KBF trail event we've seen to us this season will also be there. KBF having trail stops Saturday and Sunday up at Lake St. Clair. So, book your hotel and head up there. It's going to be a fun event if you can make it. If you can't, Raccoon, Brush Creek, great options. Well, at least Raccoon. I don't know about Brush Creek. I don't really like that lake too much personally, but I know there's some big fish there, and I hear they're spawning, so you might want to check it out next week. All right, guys, enough of all that. Let's get to what this show's really about tonight, and that is 2 awesome guests wrapping up this Young Gun series, as I said earlier. Brennan McDougal and Jack Vandenberghe. This is gonna be good, guys. So let's get them on here and let's see what they got to say. What is up, Brennan?
What's going on, man? How's it going?
It's going, dude. It's going. Good to have you back. You've been on the podcast before briefly, but never as a main guest. So I'm excited to have you on here, dude.
I appreciate it. It's always fun. It's always a good time.
Yeah, man. All right, let's get one of your other Young Gun competitors out on here. Jack in the house. What's up, dude?
How's it going?
It's going, man. I'm happy to be here.
Oh yeah, me too.
Happy to have you on, man. I met you 2 years ago now, I think, at the Turkey Bowl. It was the first time we really got to talk and interact.
Yeah,
to see you on
right.
person. So, but we've never spent a lot of time talking about fishing, so I'm excited to do that with you tonight.
Oh yeah, me too.
All right, let me see. I'm gonna mute here. All right, sounds like I got a little bit of echo coming from you, Brennan. So what I'm going to do, bud, is I'm just going to mute you when we're not chatting. Okay.
Sounds good.
Hopefully that's not too bad. If it's too bad on your guys' end, and maybe it just might be on my end, but let me know if that is a little too difficult to hear me over. So give me that in the comments, guys, and then we'll go from there. Well, Jack, I'm going to start with Brennan here because I want to poke on him a little bit, and not because I want to bully him, but because I think by poking at him a little bit here, we can shed some light on something, and that is how great our tournament directors are here in Indiana, because it's not easy. It's not easy to be a tournament director. And Brennan found that out. Brennan put together an amazing event to help out a local angler here, and he had to work through the paces of sponsors and judging fish and the financials of all of it. So I just want to poke fun at Brennan a little bit here, but also thank Brennan for putting together this amazing event and trying to do something. But these tournament directors, Brennan, you can comment on this, man. I'm going to unmute you here. These tournament directors in here in Indiana, everyone thinks it's easy. They think, oh, they just go over the rules and they just collect the money and they judge fish. They don't realize there's a lot to it, isn't there?
Before I even start, I got to give credit to not just here in Indiana, but all the tournament directors. I mean, we have great tournament directors here in the state and all across the country, but I got to give credit to them, because me going into that event, I figured, just like you said, talk about rules, maybe get some sponsors here and there, which we did, but I got to give credit to them for all the hard work, because it's a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff that I found that out that people don't realize. So I got to give credit to all of them. I want to thank them a lot. Yeah, man.
I know that feeling of taking on that and wanting to do that, and then realizing, wow, this is more than I thought it would be. And it can be challenging at sometimes. And luckily, we've got great guys here that help us out with all that stuff and helped me with the state championship and that sort of stuff. So I just had to poke fun at you a little bit. I know you've had some struggles with that, but you did a great job, man, and I appreciate you doing it.
No, all right. Like I said, I cannot thank them enough for all the hard work.
Right. So if you're watching, don't take your tournament directors for granted. Shake their hand, thank them, give them a fist bump, because they work hard, including Brennan, to put together great events. All right, Brennan. Justin says you need to get sponsored by Crocs, man.
I love my Crocs.
We know you
They are,
too.
in my opinion, they are the best fishing shoes in the world.
Crocs for a long time, like, people made fun of people that wore Crocs. Like, Crocs were not cool. Are Crocs cool? Are Crocs cool now? Is that a thing? Or are you just like, you don't care?
I wouldn't say they're cool. I don't know. I got a year ago, and I just started wearing them, and I didn't think I wore them every once in a while, and started wearing them to school, and I wear them everywhere. So I don't know, but fishing wise, they are awesome.
There you go, Jack. What do you think?
Oh, I second that. I mean, there's some great fishing shoes. Oh yeah.
Thumbs up.
No,
okay.
I don't know about going to any fancy restaurants in them, but
yeah, I just do the flip flop thing, man. Get the flip flop hand going. That's what I do. Oh, here we go, Steve, with a great idea. Tournament Directors Appreciation Day. I like that. The second part here, I'm not sure if I like. Maybe you can let the Monroe TD win one. Man, I don't know. I guess I could not show up for one of those tournaments, but that would be hard on me to watch you guys fish Monroe and not show up, No, man, Steve's tough out there. Steve's a hammer at Monroe. Just had a lot of bad luck last couple seasons out there. But he'll get it. You'll get it, buddy. Don't worry. But I do agree. We need a tournament Directors Appreciation Day. Let's just put all the tournament directors on a tournament, just them. No entry fee. We'll get some sponsors, put it out there. That would be awesome, Steve. I like that idea. All right, guys. Well, Jack, how old are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. How old are you now?
I'm 16 right now.
Just turned 16, right? Or
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
you just got your driver's
Last
license.
year.
Just got your driver's license. So about to turn 17. Brennan, you are 17, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So school done or wrapping up this week?
We just finished. I just finished a couple days ago. Got my last finals in. So
Nice. Brandon, what about you, buddy?
Finish up tomorrow. Last day.
Finish up tomorrow. Gosh, you guys are going to be able to go. You got your driver's license now. You're out of school. Man, what's going to keep you guys from the water now? You guys got summer jobs?
I am. I just applied for a job, so I'm waiting on a call now. But other than that, I've got really nothing keeping me off the water. So hoping to get out there a lot more this year.
Nice. Brennan, buddy, do me a favor, man. Drop out and come back in. I'm getting a lot of audio mix from you.
I will.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, I'll come back in.
All right, we'll try and get Brendan on here. I don't know if you guys are hearing it or not, but on my end, I can barely hear over Brendan unless I mute him. So anyway, Jack, while we wait for Brendan to come back in, hopefully that'll fix the issue here. What are your plans this season for fishing?
For fishing this season, I'm hoping to place better than I did last year. Last year wasn't too good of a year for me, but those are just my goals right now, is to hopefully improve on some things that I did wrong last year and just go from there. But
Gotcha.
Definitely get some more time out in the water this year, so that'll be good.
What tournaments you got in store?
Coming up, I've got a Hamilton Lake tournament, and then I believe the Mississippi Friday.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. Brennan, what do you got planned for the summer, man? I mean, you've already been fishing a lot, but now that you're out of school and everything, you gonna be fishing some more?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna fish a couple trail events over the summer, and other than that, probably stay local as well. But try to get at least to a couple trail events. School makes it. I have a certain amount of days I can really take off each year during the school year. So basically, trying to get to a couple trail events and just get on the water as much as possible. Just improve, and it's really my goals for this summer. What I got planned.
Awesome. So we got Lake St. Clair, East West Harbor, and Kentucky Lake left. Which one are you trying to hit?
I think I'm trying to make it to. I know I'm pretty sure almost 100% for East West Harbor, and I'll probably try to go to Kentucky Lake if possible.
Awesome. I'd like to hit all three of those as well. Lake St. Clair, East West Harbor. East West Harbor has been on a bucket list for me for a while now in KBF. So I'd like to get to that one. And Kentucky Lake, man, used to be my favorite lake. I don't know if it is anymore, but I'd like to get there. I don't know if I'm going to get to St. Clair next week or not. It's going to be hit or miss for me, but we'll see. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to mute you for a second here, Brandon. I'm going to talk to Jack for a second. I want to go through three things here with you guys. I want to talk about who influences you. I want to talk about your fishing styles, and I want to talk a little bit about what your goals are in the fishing industry. Maybe you don't have goals in the fishing industry, but I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to see how you guys compare and contrast both, 17, both kind of been in the sport for a little while now. So I think it's going to be really cool. Jack, I'm going to start with you because I know the least about you as far as a fisherman goes. Tell me a little bit about who influences you the most in the fishing industry, specifically the kayak industry. Who's been the person that's got you wanting to get out here and compete and do this thing?
Well, getting into kayak fishing, at the start, I really don't know who officially got me into fishing, but getting into competitive fishing, definitely I have to say Jackson Orr. He's just a stick on the water. He definitely influenced me a lot to try to improve on, my fishing skills, try to get more time out on the water, and just try to go from there. But definitely have to say Jackson Orr and a couple other young guns out there.
Awesome, man. Yeah, Jackson Orr is an inspiration, I think, to people of all ages. He's definitely someone that I've followed here in the state, and really appreciate him, not only as an angler, but a person. So that's cool to hear that you say that. Did you know Jackson personally, or did you just see him through the socials and the tournament trails?
I didn't know him personally before getting into kayak fishing. When we were doing a little bit of research on it before I got into, we started seeing some headlines about his, I believe, BOS win. I think he was like 14 or 15, but at the time, and just stuff like that. So I kept hearing his name kind of thrown around, and figured out he lives like 5 minutes away from me, so got out in the water with him a couple times, and so.
Very cool. Now,
Yeah.
Jack, are you originally from Indiana?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. Every time I talk to you, you always have like this northern. I always like pick up this northerner accent from you.
Oh yeah.
Like it's almost like Wisconsin, like Michigan type thing. I don't know if anybody else gets that or not, but I'm like, where are you from? Like it doesn't. You just don't have that Indiana type accent at all.
I was born in Fort Wayne and stayed in there entire life, so.
Yeah, that's funny. It's like this country meets like northerner, like I don't know. But anyway, that's another podcast. Brennan, man, who is most influential on you? And you can talk about now, or you can talk about who kind of got you in, but like who's been the most influential on you as a young angler?
I would say, actually, I'm going to go the professional way. David Dudley.
Interesting.
Dudley, he's kind of he's an inspiration for me, and still is, because one of the things I struggled with most when I started, and I still can, is like mental toughness. And David Dudley is real good with his mental game, and I'm also a big finesse fisherman too, so he's a pretty good finesse angler as well. But David Dudley is just an all-around guy in terms of inspiration for me ever since I started.
Yeah, that is surprising for me to hear you say. Generally, when I'm talking to anglers in your age, a little younger, a little older, but in your age range, you hear guys like Jacob Wheeler, you hear guys like Brandon Brosnick, D-Lat, you hear some of the Guggen squad, that sort of stuff. So it's interesting for me to hear you say David Dudley. I had to look it up real quick. I'm familiar with David, but I couldn't remember if he was one of the guys that went back to the elites or stayed at MLF. And he had stayed at MLF, I believe. And but he's not like a younger guy by any means. So how did you kind of get attached to him early on?
I don't really know. I used to watch, and I still do, but I used to watch all day long, like pros fishing, and I still do. And
yeah, same.
Whenever I noticed David Dudley, I don't know, he became one of my inspirations. And the mental toughness thing, I've just noticed that about him. That's something, like I said, I really struggled with when I started. So he's still a big inspiration for me, but he was from the beginning.
Well, I'll check that out. I honestly don't follow David too much. When I think about mental toughness in an angler, I'm thinking about BP, and I'm thinking about Gerald Swindle as someone who talks about positive mental attitude a lot. So that's interesting. I'll take a look at David. Jack, do you have a favorite pro angler? Do you follow the pro angler stuff at all?
I followed a little bit, not as much anymore, but one of the first pros that I really heard about was Mike Iaconelli. Was one of the first people when I was getting into fishing. One of the bigger names out there, but since I bought his book and I read that, so I'd have to say
That's
definitely
awesome.
probably Iaconelli is one of my professional inspirations.
Yeah, so that was my era growing up. Like we were all watching Van Dam and Iaconelli and Swindle and that sort of thing. Like I can remember getting Ike's book. It's like one of the only books I've ever read. I don't read books. I read Bassmaster magazines, and that's about it. But yeah, that's interesting. I remember, and I think in Indiana you're going to hear more young anglers in your guys' age range say Ike than you would in other parts of the country. Ike is just huge in general because of just the media giant that he has become with Bass University, his podcast, the books, social media, and stuff like that. But he's still, like, for the younger group, not often mentioned. But I think in Indiana it's a little different because Ike comes to Indiana a lot. He's come here a lot for Bass University. He comes to Indianapolis Boat Sport and Travel Show a lot. He's worked with the local federation and stuff some, both youth and stuff like that. So I think that's a little bit more common, but it still was a little bit surprising to hear you say Ike. Love Ike. He's a great guy. And loves talking and hanging out with his fans and stuff like that. So, Ike's a tremendous angler. All right, so now that we know a little bit about who kind of influences you, let's see if that kind of translates at all into your fishing styles. Again, we're going to start here with you, Jack. What's your fishing style? Are you a power fisherman, a finesse fisherman? Like, give us a little breakdown.
I'd like to think of myself, I started off mainly power fishing. I couldn't bring myself to just sit and just let a worm sit or just let a drop shot just soak there. But I've gotten more into finesse the past coming years. And I've been building on that and trying to get more diverse in how I fish and being able to change when needed.
Okay. And so on the finesse side of things, what kind of triggered like, hey, this is something I need to spend more time in for you?
Definitely the colder water fishing.
Okay.
In those late year tournaments, I always found myself struggling in those, struggling to get consistent bites and to get fish limits every single tournament. So I told myself things need to change with that, need to improve on that. So that's what I've been working on.
Now, Jackson's a little bit of a finesse guy himself. He's known to, throw a Cinco and a wacky rig and a Ned rig quite a bit. No stranger to the finesse thing. Did that have any impact on you starting to pick that up, seeing him do well in the finesse game, or?
A little bit of impact. I really didn't focus very much on his fishing style as much as just watching him grow as an angler and thinking to myself, he's around, my age range. He's gotten his name out there. I can do that too. So I think the main way that I changed to finesse is just that cold water temperature and trying to get consistent bites in those. So.
Okay. So what are maybe like, let's say like your top 3 confidence baits, no matter where you go, unless it's like some one-off thing, you're going to have tied on to start out.
Definitely number 1 has to be a Senko. You can't really go wrong with it. Then I got to go with a drop shot for number 2. And then number 3, more of a power fishing bait, I got to go with a chatter bait.
Drop shot. What was the first one again? Drop shot, chatter bait, and a
wacky rig.
Drop shot, wacky rig, Cinco, and a chatter bait. Man, those are good ones, dude. I used to fish the drop shot a lot. That was like one of my go-tos. especially as a co-angler. And then I got into the kayak, and I kind of got away from it a little bit. But this year, I've picked it back up quite a bit, and I really love fishing it. One of my favorite lakes, if you know me very well, you'll figure out what this one is. Drop shot can work very well at times out there, and I think it can work anywhere. So it's cool to hear you say that. Again, that's a thing you don't hear a lot anymore, especially in Indiana. Stupid tube, Ned rig, and shaky head could always kind of been something that gets mentioned more than a drop shot, but it's a very, very productive technique. I have a little.
You see a lot more people getting rid of the drop shot out of their arsenal when they switch to kayaks, just because of the I guess the wind. I mean, but now blowing them off their spots, and I mean, video game fishing has become much harder with it. But now that they're making, I guess, trolling motor mounts with spot lock, and I think you're starting to see more people get into drop shot fishing again from kayaks. So.
Absolutely. And if you don't have those things, I think you can still be effective with a drop shot. You can drag a drop shot really, really well and just kind of drift with it. It's a great way to fish it.
Definitely.
I got a drop shot trick, and I don't know if I want to let this cat out of the bag yet or not. But I think I'm going to. So for the people that watch this, I'm going to give you something here. I learned this in Arizona. You'll often hear me reference things to Arizona because I lived out there for just a short amount of time. But when I was out there, I learned so much about bass fishing. The caliber of anglers there are just huge. It's amazing. There's very few, but there's just great anglers. Anyway, I learned this when I was in Arizona. I'll see if either of you have ever tried this. Brennan, do you fish a drop shot at all?
And I'm a big finesse fisherman. I don't pick it up a lot. I do in certain situations sometimes, but not a lot, to be honest with you. Not a lot.
All right. Don't use this against me now. Neither of you. All right. Here's the rule. If you're a tournament fisherman watching this and you fish against me, you can't have this tied on. All right. And you have to know the state rules too. And I honestly have not done this since I've been back in Indiana, I don't think. Maybe I have. All right. So this is something I used to do out in Arizona a lot when I fished a drop shot. And I told you I got away from it and starting to get back into it. So I got to try it again. You rig a drop shot like you normally do, okay? So take your hook, put your Palomar knot, and then if you guys don't know this might be a tip too. If you fish a drop shot, this is the only way you should rig a drop shot. So you get your finesse hook, whatever you're using, you tie a Palomar, and then you take your tag in and drop it back through the hook eye. Do you guys do that?
Jack, do not know.
Jack, you're learning something. You're learning something here. Do you tie a Palomar knot?
I do. I just don't drop the line back through the eyelet.
Okay. I'm gonna change your world right now. I'm gonna help you out. All right. So if you do not drop your tag in back through the hook eye, your hook will almost always either be upside down or sideways in the water. Okay, top line, it's going to be like upside down. If it is dragging on a limper line, it could roll to the side. All right, by dropping your tag in back through, your hook will stand straight up, and so will your bait. Okay, so do that. All right. So here's the trick, though. The other trick. Okay. So you drop your tag line back through your hook eye, and then you got to put your weight on, right? Shaky head. Tie a shaky head on instead of a drop shot weight. Now you're running a suspended worm and a worm on the bottom. It works. You'll get bit on both in the same cast. Double hookup. It's amazing.
Have you ever had a double hookup with that?
Numerous times.
Really?
Numerous times. It is stupid good. There's some situations where you wouldn't use it, grass, things where that bottom bait's going to get hung up a lot. But when you're dragging, pretty open stuff, just some scattered rock and things like that, it can be money. It can be money. And because if you've ever fished in clear water with a drop shot, have you ever seen them go after your weight? They see that weight going. Same thing. They'll go after the shaky head, but just a real light shaky head. Whatever size weight you would use for a drop shot, you could use that in a small ball head or shaky head, and it's a little tip there. All right, moving on. So we got Jack's top 3. Let's get your top 3 confidence baits, Brennan.
Weightless Wacky Senko, a Nico rig, and a stupid tube, 4-inch.
Nice. Okay. All right. So by hearing your top 3, we hear your confidence is the finesse game. You're a finesse fisherman, it sounds like.
Yes, sir.
Where did that come from? How did you get into the finesse game?
I feel like ever since I jumped into fishing, I started with finesse, but just off tournament success, it gave me a lot of confidence, and after that, I kind of just kept picking up on it. Like I never put it down, and so it's a big confidence thing for me. But ever since I started, it feels like I started finesse fishing, and I kind of just carried that on.
For those of you watching who have watched from the beginning of the Young Gun series, do you see the common thread here? These are all consistent young anglers at the top of the sport here in the state of Indiana and nationally, and all of them are finesse fishermen. Now, we didn't have Jackson on, and that's not because he's not a young gun. He is. He's in the 4 that I consider the young guns. We just didn't have him on because we've had him on so many times before, and we wanted to give an opportunity for these gentlemen to talk. But do you hear that? Like, finesse fishing is such a huge part of their arsenal. And part of that's because they've grown up in an area where these fish are so pressured. These tournaments are so tough. Like, you got to pick up the finesse. So if you're not finesse fishing, or you're like, I ain't going to pick up that sissy stick, you need to rethink that. And these kids, these young guns, they're not closed-minded to it. Like, they're picking it up early, and they're consistent with it. And getting in those top finishes and those wins with it. All right. What's your biggest bass you've ever caught on a spinning rod, Brennan?
Biggest one on a spinning rod is a 21 1/4.
21 1/4. All right, that's a big fish on a spinning rod. I haven't caught a big fish like that on a spinning rod. I think my biggest is like 19, something like that. Jack, what about you? What's your biggest fish?
I think back here, I'd probably have to say it's a 19 3/4.
19 3/4. Yeah, that's a good fish. That's fun. I mean,
Oh yeah.
a 16-incher can be fun on a spinning rod, let alone 19s and 20s. Matt Keeper saying, I pick it up, but I suck at it. And I think this is true for a lot of guys. I think most people now, because of Bassmaster Live, MLF Live, and FLW prior to MLF, I think people are seeing that the spinning rod plays a lot. You catch a lot of big fish chunking and winding, like a lot of big fish that way. That power fishing stuff, right? Kevin Van Dam made a career out of fishing fast. I mean, he finesse fished a little, but most of the time, I don't know if you guys have ever watched Kevin Van Dam. He at my time, he was the greatest and the biggest name in the sport. I still think he is the greatest angler to ever fish in our sport. He's getting challenged by some young guys I tell you, we may not be talking the same thing in 5-10 years, but he never slows down. I mean, that dude, I mean, he's reeling fast. I mean, burner reels were created for Kevin. What would you say to someone, though, who recognizes the fact they need to pick up the spinning rod, like Matt, recognizes the fact that it is a powerful tool in being consistent on the water? What would you, and we'll start with you, Jack, what would you say to an angler like that? Like, what's a big tip you can give them to give them a little bit more confidence to hang on to that spinning rod and try it and fish it a little more?
I would say, well, next time you get out in the water, set an alarm for at least an hour and a half, and just only throw that spinning rod and just let it. You gotta go through the pain of just sitting there and letting it soak. Just set an alarm, only use the spinning rod, and you'll find you'll get bites. And those bites, they may be small, they may be big, but I mean, you get them consistently. So,
wow, that's wise beyond your years, right there, Jack. Great tip to set that timer and just focus on that and that alone. Brennan, what would you say, or how would you elaborate on that? Like, how can we get Matt and other anglers like him confident in this technique?
I mean, I would just say practice. Kind of what Jack was saying. I would say a whole day. I would say a whole day on the water. And if you got 2 spinning rods, just bring those 2 spinning rods and keep them in your hand all day. And I think, as you get a few more bites on it, you'll gain more confidence with it. Even a couple of days, 2 days in a row, bring that spinning rod, keep it in your hand. And you can bring other rods, but try to keep it in your hand, most of the day.
Yeah, great tips. I agree. I mean, only take the spinning rod. I was always been a big shaky head fisherman, and I talked about I used to pick up the drop shot quite a bit, and a lot of my finesse stuff comes from being a co-angler, being in the back of the boat. Prior to I'm moving up into the front of the boat stuff, and having to fish behind guys who were power fishing and knowing that they were leaving some stuff behind, and that I could pick those up on finesse. That's where mine comes from. You guys, kayak anglers, having that already is really cool. But I think any technique that you're trying to learn, the best thing to do is only fish it. If you're confident in a square bill, a chatterbait, it's hard not to be confident in a chatterbait anymore. If you're confident in dragging a shaky head, take all that out of the boat, because you're going to revert back to it. I mean, when you go down a stretch of bank and don't catch a fish on a wacky rig, you're instantly telling yourself in your mind, oh, they're not going to bite the wacky rig. Oh, this isn't going to work. And you're going to pick up that jackhammer. But how many times in a day do you fish multiple bank lines and never get a tap on a jackhammer? Even those great stretches. But you keep chucking it and you keep winding it because you have the confidence in it. So you have to eliminate that. You have to take it out of the boat if you're not mentally tough enough to do it.
Kind of going off what you said there, I find another way to gain really good confidence in the spinning rod is if you ever find yourself in the situation where you're fishing behind a bass boat or another kayaker on a bank and they're power fishing, or you see them jig fishing or something, pick up that spinning rod and you'll find yourself catching fish behind them from stuff they've already fished.
Absolutely.
And you can definitely gain confidence from that.
Yep. Brennan, you got anything to add on that?
No, I agree. I think it's similar to what you're saying, being a co-angler too. Like if you're, because I've been a co-angler a few times and I've probably not as much as you, but being in the back of the boat, like if your guy running the trolling motors, dragging a jig, pick up something different. And a lot of times it's probably going to be, a weightless wacky rig, a Nico rig, a tube, something like that. Just pick up something different. And, you might get you might get a couple good bites on it, and that'll boost your confidence. And
yeah.
And you were saying that mental toughness thing. It is big with any technique though. Putting down your confidence big. So. But yeah, I
absolutely.
totally agree.
Yeah, good stuff there, and great point, Jack. Like you said, going behind a guy with the finesse technique. I think another thing that's important is just not getting zoned out on somebody fishing through that area. Um, because again, if you watch MLF, this is why I'm so huge. A lot of kayak anglers don't follow the boat tournament side of things, and they should. I wish more did, because not only can you learn a lot by watching how someone's fishing, not what you like. It's one thing just to sit there and zone out and just see like them catching fish and stuff like that. But when you can see them fishing for a moment and see, okay, he's throwing a spinner bait, but see how he's moving that rod and how he's working the reel, you pick up a lot of things like that. But another thing you realize, especially in MLF, because they're on smaller bodies of water sometime, you'll see a guy like David Dudley go through an area and catch fish, and then right behind him comes Edwin Evers or Jacob Wheeler or whatever, and they catch fish. Or you'll see guys go through a stretch and not catch a fish, and then two other guys pull up in the area and whack them. There's a lot to be learned from watching the live stuff. And more of that's coming to the kayak scene. The KFL is getting ready to launch here in a couple weeks, really, early June. And we're going to be able to see that. We've seen a little bit of it with 5 Live. We've seen a little bit of it with what Chad's done and things like that. But we're starting to see more of it in the kayak space. But right now, the best place to go is MLF and Bass to see that stuff. And now the NFPL, which is a new league. So I encourage you guys to do that. You learn a lot. Funny enough, we have two great comments talking about what we're talking about here. These are perfect. So Austin says, I prefer a wacky bite over a crankbait or chatterbait. Just more fun to me. And then Jim follows up with that and says, if I had to sit in the truck, or I'd sit in the truck for an hour and a half if I had to use the spinning rod. Right. So this is going back to Jack, your comment saying set a timer for an hour and a half and go fish it. Jim's like, no way, I'm not picking it up. It's just not going to happen. Jim's going to throw that chatterbait. He's going to throw a crankbait. He's going to throw a jig. He's not going to pick up that spin. And a lot of times that works for Jim. Jim does good in tournaments. He's done really well. In fact, he's got an AOI title, I believe, or maybe a couple. But the very different opinions, and every angler is different. So you have to fish to your strengths. But what we're saying is you should not just completely rule out the finesse game. It is a great way to become a consistent angler. And next week, we're going to be talking to Austin about how he is so consistent. And I guarantee this wacky rig and this finesse bite is going to come into play again. I'm going to have to find some power fishermen to come on this show so we can talk about both viewpoints here, because the finesse game is a big deal here, especially in Indiana where it's so tough. All right, guys. So we talked a little bit about who influences you. We've talked a little bit about what you like to do out there on the water and what's made you guys such great anglers at an early age. Your fishing IQ seems to be there just from the little bit we've talked in tonight. And obviously, utilizing the finesse game to be consistent. What are some goals for you guys? What are some things you want to work on as anglers? And where do you guys want to go in the sport? Brennan, we'll start with you on this one.
I'd say my goals, I'm still short of a win. So that's been one of my bigger goals for a long time now. So that's trying to get a win. And what was the second question, Sam? What
are like the future goals? What do you want to do in this sport? Where do you see yourself in the sport of fishing in the next 5 years, 10 years?
I mean, everybody has dreams of becoming a pro. I would just love to stick with what I'm doing right now and just become a better angler. I personally am looking into, and I really want to stay in this industry in terms of a career. I want to be a sales rep in this industry, but I would love to continue what I'm doing now. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to switch from the kayak game. I know a lot of guys are thinking about switching to the bass boat side, and that's a great thing, getting in the opens and stuff. But I just have so much fun with this. I love it. So, but yeah, just I want to keep doing what I'm doing and try to improve as an angler.
So when you say you have, dreams of being a pro, you see that in the kayak space?
I mean, how it's led up to, and I haven't been in it. This is my 4th year now, but even 4 years since I've started, and how it's leading up. KFL joining in, Bassmaster joining in. Like I think in the future there possibly could be, a professional side of this. I mean, there's guys fishing full time right now.
Sure.
But we're I think as time goes on, we're just going to keep seeing bigger things in the sport. But yeah, I mean, obviously I've thought about it and it'd be awesome, but I'm just going to let, time, see where it goes. I don't know where I'm going to end up in 5 years, but I'm just going to keep working hard and trying to improve as an angler.
That's awesome, man. I love all that, every bit of that. Jack, what's the goals for you? Like, what do you want to improve on right now, and what do you want to do in the future?
Going kind of what off Brennan's saying, definitely want to go for that win. Hoping for at least one this year, but I also want to improve on consistency and being in at least the top 10. I've been struggling with that for the past couple of years, being in the sport, but I've been seeing that improve, especially with, switching more finesse and trying to learn new tactics, fishing styles, and just trying to be more open with it and open-minded with, lure choices. But definitely consistency is something I want to improve on.
Awesome. And what's those future goals, man, for you?
The future goals, again, going off of what Brennan said, I definitely want to stay in the sport, stay in the fishing industry, and mainly just kind of the outdoors. I find one thing that's great about kayak fishing is you're out in nature, and I feel you're more one with nature than, I guess, being in a bass boat or something that you're just, you're putting in there. Oh, yeah. And I feel like going to continue down the path and hoping to go into DNR in the future, and that's one of my end goals there. So
awesome, man. I saw recently that they had we're hiring, or we're accepting people in Indiana for the DNR. I think there's some programs you could get into as high school students, as young people. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly. I think in Indiana, I could be thinking of a different state, but I know I'm pretty sure in Indiana they have some programs you can get into to help guide you down that path and get you into the Department of Natural Resources. So that's awesome, man. That was something that I once considered doing myself, and love to hear that, man, and love to hear you both are looking to stay in the kayak game. Brennan, what do you think is the biggest thing holding you back from that W? Jack talked about becoming a more consistent angler and the finesse side of things. What do you think held you back this far?
I got to be honest with everyone. It's a lot of times it's my mental game, keep my head in it throughout all 8 hours or however long term it is. But say it's a typical 8-hour tournament, like I at the beginning of the morning and stuff, like I'm all fired up, and a lot of times I feel like I can catch the limit real quick, but I think honestly it's just mental.
We lost Brennan again. He was in the juice there. Yeah, I think he's having some connection issues. I think that's what's going on with the audio. Brennan, but let's see if we can get back in here. Are you there, bud? Oh man, there you are.
Hello. Sorry, my connection's been so bad.
It's okay, man. That happens. That's part of this whole thing for lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that, man. That mental side. I'm the opposite. I've talked about it a lot. I struggle in the mornings, and as the day wears on, I get in my groove. So it's interesting to hear you're the kind of the opposite of that.
hmm
Jack, is that something that you struggle with? Do you think your mental game's pretty strong?
Oh, 100%. I feel as though everybody has to struggle with that in at least some form or the other. On just keeping a great mindset out there through the entire day. Because, I mean, you could have one chain of events where everything goes just completely wrong, and then it'll ruin people's entire days and their fishing style because they'll just be focused on that one thing, whether it's you lose a giant or you break off your favorite lure in a tree. It sticks with people, and I guess kind of in golf, you want to forget that last shot and go in with a fresh mindset to your next swing. So struggling with you know keeping that fresh mindset is definitely one thing I've been trying to improve on over the past couple of years, and I feel like if you're able to keep a great mindset through the entire day, and if you're able to stay positive through the entire day, you can definitely be a really consistent angler out in the water.
Awesome. Well said. Well said. The fishing IQ and knowledge here is pretty impressive, guys. I'm enjoying this very much. So thank you guys for coming on here tonight. Um, Kind of last question, and almost a follow up to what we're talking about here. And Brennan, I'll start with you. Two questions here to kind of go out on with this. What is the hardest part of being a young angler in the kayak scene here in Indiana, or as in general? And then, secondly, to that, what is the biggest advice you would give a young angler who is thinking about getting into this sport or just starting to dabble in it?
I feel like the hardest part, I guess, and this kind of goes back to when I started, was actually branching into the sport. Because I remember when I started, like, it was difficult because you knew you were fishing against, guys that have had a lot more experience than you. And starting out is a struggle because you're not fishing against, at least like in kayak fishing, you're not fishing against, your same age group. And so I think just getting into the sport is definitely the toughest part, or was the toughest part for me as a young angler. And
What would have made that
the
easier
advice-
for you?
What's that?
What would have made that easier for you? Like, how could the community as a whole make it easier for young anglers to get in?
That's a tough one. I mean, personally, my experience, reflecting off my experience, like the kayak game or the kayak, family, I guess you could say, everyone's so welcoming. Like right off from the beginning, it was the IKA West Bogs, like back in 2018 or something like that, and people were helping you with the ramp and all that. And when I started like being 14, it was difficult just getting confidence getting into the sport. But I don't know. Something, I wouldn't say, like, I would say that getting into the sport, there isn't much you could change knowing now because everyone's so welcoming. And,
Yeah, you just got to pay your
it was
dues.
great when I first got it.
Right?
Yeah. And I would say my advice is, I mean, kind of reflecting on what I just said, like, don't be afraid to get into it. Don't be afraid to chase your dreams. Go up there, have fun. And it's definitely my biggest advice. Just don't be afraid to jump in if you're a younger guy. I guarantee you'll love it. So.
Yep. Awesome. Jack, what about you, bud? Same thing.
I gotta say, the biggest challenge for me on getting into kayak fishing is definitely, I guess, trying to balance school and time on the water. I found myself this year when I went to the Grassroots Bass Kayak in St. Clair series, Zooming for classes and trying to stay on top of homework and stuff is definitely one of the main problems with, not problems, but main issues I kind of faced with getting into kayak fishing.
Yeah.
And I guess COVID in a way made it a little bit easier because I was able to actually stay on top of things with schoolwork while being able to go out and fish. So
yeah. Well, I can tell you that challenge isn't going to change. It's just going to go from schoolwork to real work. And, having to balance that, and then eventually potentially having family and stuff like that. So there's always those types of challenges for sure. So I wish I could tell you those would go away, but unfortunately they don't, unless you do get to that point where you just fish all the time, or have a job that allows you to do that. And wow, my voice just like went really out there. Yeah, I mean, it can be a challenge for sure. So what's the advice you would give?
The advice I'd give is for any young anglers is definitely school's got to come first. You got to stay on top of schoolwork because, I mean, if fishing doesn't work out, you got to have a backup plan.
Sure, absolutely.
But other than that, I mean, yeah, I just got to say stay in school. And
yeah, good advice, man. That's great advice. I wish somebody would have told me that. I skipped school to go fishing. No, okay, actually, I really did. That's true. That's terrible advice. Don't do that. That's terrible advice. All right, so but I have to know, like, are you guys like me? Like, I carried a Bassmaster magazine into every classroom I went into. Like, I'd have that in my textbook. You guys do that?
For me, that's just with depth charts. I'll be on my computer. I'll be studying a depth chart during class.
There you go. Yeah, you can multitask. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I still to this day, I'm either watching or listening to live or Bassmaster University while I work. So, like, I still know. Brennan, you multitask at school?
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Mom and Dad won't get that mad.
Unfortunately, it's tough to multitask because whenever Bass Live's on or MLF, it's got to be on the iPad. So,
yeah.
But it's difficult, trying to, say I'm writing an essay and I'm trying to watch Bass Live. It's difficult, but no, I do try to stay off of it in school. But like I said, Bass Live or MLF's on, you got to turn it on.
So in high school and in college, anytime we had to write an essay, but we had like free will to write whatever we wanted to write about, I would always find a way to bring bass fishing into it.
Right. Yeah.
So that I could at least write about what I love. All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you working through the technical difficulties and coming on tonight. It's been great having you guys on here and, seeing some of the similarities in you guys. I know you guys are going to both be, in this sport for a long time and definitely towards the top of these leaderboards as you continue to grow as anglers, grow that confidence, and develop your skill sets, man. You guys are both great stewards of the sport here at such a young age already. I appreciate that. And I thank you guys also. You guys have both been great supporters of everything over here at HKB and what we're doing. And that's awesome to see. And I thank you so much for that as well. As you guys sign off here and we say good night. Anyone you want to thank or give any shout outs to, sponsor wise, family, that sort of thing? Brennan, go ahead and we'll start with you, bud.
Keep it short. Just want to thank my friends and family for joining up on here and for all the support since I've started. And also just all my sponsors. You can see them on my Instagram. McDougal Fishing, but I'm fortunate to have such great sponsors that support me throughout each season. So I want to thank them, and I want to thank you and HKB for another opportunity to be on here. This is awesome. So
awesome. Yeah, appreciate it.
I want to thank all the TDs one more time.
Yeah. Thank them TDs, man. Those guys, Those guys put in a lot of work to make these tournaments happen. We appreciate them very much. Thank you, Brennan. Oh, Brennan just dropped off, probably unintentionally, but hey, it works. Jack, what you got, buddy?
I definitely want to thank my friends and family for all the support that I've been getting, especially from starting it, because I know it's not a cheap sport to get into. So definitely thank them for that. And thank you guys and HKB for having me on the show tonight. It was a fun time, and yeah, looking forward to getting on it again sometime. So
yeah, man. Hopefully, we can have you on here later on to talk about victories and what you're doing in the sport. I know it's coming at some point. I have no doubt, man. I appreciate you coming on here, and I won't keep you up too much more. But you got some summer break to celebrate and some fishing to do, man. You fishing anywhere this weekend?
Am I fishing anywhere?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be going down to Nashville this weekend, so I won't be able to do any fishing this weekend.
One of my favorite places in the country. Lived there for a little while. Thought it would be great to live there. It wasn't so great to live there, but it is a great place to sit and hang out. Yeah, man, have fun down in Nashville. It was good seeing you again, and we'll look forward to seeing your name on the leaderboards.
Oh, yeah, you too. Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, you too. Have a great night.
You too. Brennan?
Hey, what's up?
You cut out on me, man. Quit that.
Yeah.
Where are you fishing this weekend?
I'm actually going up like northern Indiana, southern Michigan. I'll probably actually fish Coldwater again, George, and the James Chain. Going up there for a few days.
Just fun fishing?
Just fun fishing. I was actually looking for like a small tournament ran up there or something I could hop in, but I couldn't find anything. So I'm just going to go up there for a few days and have some fun.
Yeah, you like that northern part, don't you?
I love anything. Well, yeah, I'm a northern guy. Like, I like fishing northern waters. More confidence in the southern stuff, but anytime I'm on the water, I'm going to enjoy it. So, but yeah, I do like going up north.
Well, awesome, man. Look forward to seeing you post some big fish and share your adventures up there. All right, buddy. I appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. There it is, guys. Just wrapped up the Young Gun series. Brennan and Jack, both great guys. If you ever have an opportunity at a ramp or anywhere to talk to both them, man, great young guys. And appreciate very much having them on and them coming on. I'm noticing my bass back here. It's like cocked sideways. It's driving me nuts. Anyway, now it's going to drive you nuts. But yeah, appreciate them guys coming on, and it was a great episode. I look forward to next week's episode with Austin. Again, a guy who's fishing a lot of events this year and being very consistent. Looks like he's going to have another top finish at Brookville with the total he had there in the 80s. Anytime you get in the 80s in Indiana, you're at a good shot to win it or get a top 3. Hopefully he can get his first W. I know he's fighting so hard for that. And it looks like he's going to have some pretty good chance here. I won't call it official or anything like that. I don't want to jinx the guy. But hopefully he can get a W. If not, looks like we'll get another top finish, and we'll be talking to him next week about that. And then after that, I'm not exactly sure what we got going on. I got a couple ideas I'm kicking around. But we'll have something good for you for sure. Please do me a favor. If you haven't already, when you get off here, click share and share this with your friends and family. Share it in the groups that you're in, your fishing groups and things like that. We appreciate that so much. If you haven't already, give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram. You just type in Here's Your Kayak Bassin' and you're going to find us. Check us out at Here'sYourKayakBassin.com. And yeah, that's it. Thank a TD. Like, seriously, it's a tough job. I was poking fun at Brennan a little bit just because I know he found out kind of the hard way how difficult it is to run these events. And I did that because I just want to say to the TDs. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. We've got several TDs with Grassroots Bassiakin and then SIAC and IK. Just really, I mean, without them, we would not have these events, and they don't often get the appreciation they deserve. So thank you guys so much for what you're doing if you're watching. And then, for each of you guys watching that Fishing These series, definitely shake their hands afterwards and thank them for a great event. All right, guys, that's it. Appreciate you for watching. And let us know if there's anything you want to hear about, anyone you'd like to see come on. We always appreciate those comments and messages. Yeah, that's it. Have a good one. Enjoy the holiday. Happy Memorial Day. And enjoy that time with family and friends. I can already smell the burgers and brats. It's going to be a good one. Weather's looking pretty decent. So enjoy the weekend, guys, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.